It's time for Northwestern Outdoors Radio, the show focusing on fishing, hunting, outdoor recreation, destinations, and conservation in the region where you live and play. Northwestern Outdoors is brought to you by Max Lure Company, Sportsman's Warehouse, and Wallowa County. And now, let's see what's going on in the field and on the water with your host, John Cruz.
Welcome to the show. I've got news to share. I am heading to Las Vegas this week, and I know what you're thinking. Have fun and win big. Well, maybe you're jealous as well, but either way, I appreciate the thoughts, but the truth of the matter is that this trip is all work and very little play. I'll once again be attending SHOT Show, the Shooting, Hunting, Outdoor Trade Show, which is the biggest event of its type for this industry. In past years, there have been north of 60,000 attendees at this show. Last year, it was canceled, and this year, several companies have announced they are sitting the show out because of COVID concerns. So we shall see how it all turns out in the days ahead, and I'll be reporting on it soon enough. This week on Northwestern Outdoors Radio, we've got a full slate of great guests for you. We're going to start off talking to Sergeant Jason Roberts, the man in charge of Marine Patrol for the Canyon County Sheriff's Office, bordering the Snake River in western Idaho. The topic, boating safety for waterfowl hunters. We don't do very well in that regard as hunters, and Sergeant Roberts will talk about a recent rescue he was involved in on the Snake River, along with some of the most common safety issues he sees on the water. Bob Loomis is back for an extended Max Minute to talk about a unique lure you can use while ice fishing this winter, and then we'll chat again with Trey Karskinen, this time about the Tacoma Rv Show, and we'll also tell you about all the exposure shows coming up in Oregon and Northern California when producer Joe Pate joins us on the phone. These shows are popular draws in Eugene and Roseburg and Medford and Anderson in California, and Joe's got some really interesting attractions at his shows this year you're going to want to hear about. Our final guest of the show will be Nancy Eldridge and Yali Lizik with the Coastal Interpretive Center in Ocean Shores, Washington. I visited this center several years ago and came out again just before the new year. And man, oh man, I was impressed at the modern new exhibits they have in here. Let's just say they used their COVID break wisely and did an impressive remodel. If you find yourself at the beach in this popular vacation destination on the Washington coast, trust me on this. You really need to take the time to visit this center, and Nancy and Yali will tell you why. Throw in our ever-popular Sportsman's Warehouse Trivia Question of the Week, where you get the chance to win a $25 gift card, along with some news about winter shows taking place in the days and weeks ahead, and we've got yet another full hour of outdoors fun and entertainment coming your way. So, without further ado, let's get things going the way we always do with David Sparks and this week's very interesting edition of Sportsman Spotlight.
Is YouTube trying to shut us out? David Sparks, Sportsman Spotlight. I saw a troubling headline from bowhunting.com. Is YouTube trying to cancel hunting videos? It goes on. YouTube demonetizing hunting videos is nothing new. In fact, a quick search yields results going back to 2018 on this topic. However, a recent update to the media giant's ad-friendly content guidelines has placed a new set of restrictions on hunting content creators, making it more difficult than ever to produce content that hunters want to see and still make ad revenue. For those not familiar with how YouTube works, the concept is simple. First, you create a channel and upload your videos. If your audience grows large enough, YouTube runs ads before and during your videos and then gives you a percentage of the revenue. The more subscribers and views that you get, the more money you make. The top YouTube producers in the world make millions of dollars through this program. In recent years, the popularity of hunting-based YouTube shows such as Seek One, Hush, The Hunting Public, and others have grown tremendously. Some of the most popular hunting channels have hundreds of thousands of subscribers and generate a significant amount of revenue. Several large channels that include hunting content recently received a notice that they would not be able to generate any revenue for the next 30 days due to a violation of YouTube's content guidelines. David Sparks, Sportsman Spotlight.
The first 75 days of a potato's life is fragile. It's crucial to be proactive in keeping diseases and pests from devastating your crops. The Bayer family of products provides an agronomic force field around potatoes that helps create a successful harvest and high yield potential. And potatoes love it in here.
Because it's not very pleasant outside the force field. Let's go back in.
Phew. We should stay here forever, or at least the next 75 days. Learn more at BayerPotato75dayIPM.com. Always read and follow pesticide label directions.
Let us be totally honest about a very important subject. Agriculture is amongst the most important industries in the world. Everybody has to eat, and what you are eating formulates who you are. And it doesn't matter who you are, you should be aware of the trends, the science, the issues surrounding all things agriculture. That's where the Ag Information Network of the West comes in. We diligently cover every aspect of agriculture on a daily basis. It's our passion, it's our job, it is our commitment. We're the Ag Information Network of the West.
Did you know we actually have a sponsorship opportunity available for this show? That's right. You can be a sponsor of Northwestern Outdoors Radio, reaching thousands of listeners every week, tuning in to 69 stations in 7 states. If you have a business that caters to outdoors enthusiasts, this is the platform for you, and you're going to find it's much more affordable than you think. Contact me through my website at northwesternoutdoors.com, and let's get a conversation started. That's northwesternoutdoors.com.
Public lands and waters are integral to our outdoor heritage. Become a member of Backcountry Hunters and Anglers and stand up for our public lands and waters. Visit backcountryhunters.org today.
You're back in with Northwestern Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. We've got Sergeant Jason Roberts on the line. He's with the Canyon County Sheriff's Office in Idaho, and he's in charge of their Marine Patrol. The reason we've got him on is we want to talk a little bit about winter boating safety. This is a real issue, especially for those of you who enjoy duck hunting this time of year and are out on places like the Columbia or the Snake River or other bodies of water this winter. Sergeant Roberts, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you.
Let's talk a little bit about boater safety, and I think we should probably start off with an incident you just had on the Snake River in recent weeks. You had to deal with a capsized boat, some people in the water. What happened?
We had a group of duck hunters that went out, and they were taking their kids out for their first duck hunting trip. They launched their boat, and shortly after launching, they had it overweighted, and they ended up taking on water, and the boat capsized and put the 3 kids in the water, and both adults went into the water.
Wow. Was everyone okay?
Everyone was okay. We later learned that no one on board had a life jacket, or nobody on board was wearing a life jacket. And the 3 kids, who it was their first time hunting, they didn't know how to swim.
Oh, my gosh. What a recipe for disaster. How did they survive? Were they just close to shore and managed to get to shore?
So where they were in the river, they were floated about almost a mile down. And where the bend in the river came out, they were able to get out on a shoaled area and walk back to an island where we rescued them off the island.
Wow. Talk about a miracle and some very lucky hunters indeed. I'd like to say I've never heard a similar story before, but you and I both have, and this is probably the leading cause of death for waterfowl hunters. It probably isn't accidental discharges in the blind. I think it's probably boating accidents. Would you agree with that?
I would, as well as falling off for your own boat. When you go to pull the trigger and the shotgun kicks, a lot of times guys aren't proper-footed, or their dogs jump out and they're not ready to grab the dog, and they fall over or fall into the water.
Let's talk about some of the safety equipment duck hunters should have on board and be wearing. You just hinted at a whole bunch of those things with that story right there. Number 1, life jackets. Hunters are notorious for not wearing them, but that's the number 1 thing you ought to have on, isn't it?
It is something that every boat I pulled up to this year out on the river, none of the hunters had life jackets on, and only 1 or 2 of them actually had a life jacket in the boat. So the Coast Guard approved jackets come in many different styles, and different companies make them, and they're making some right now that are pretty cool, specific for hunters. They're a belt that kind of straps on, looks like a belt, and it's your whole life jacket, and nothing prohibits you from shooting. There's nothing over your top half and nothing over your chest.
What are some of the other safety items in boats duck hunters should have that they often don't?
The biggest things that we see they don't have is sound-producing devices to notify people if you're in distress, throwable PFD, they're called Type 4 throwables, and fire extinguishers. A lot of people don't have the fire extinguisher on board with them, and they're running gas motors.
Why is it, do you think, that us duck hunters are so bad compared to average recreational boaters and anglers?
Well, that actually goes back to the purpose of boating. Most of the hunters out here, we only use the boats for hunting. So during the hunting season, we pull it out, and that's the only time we're actually going out and putting our boats on the water. So a lot of these things are easily overlooked or just because of complacency. I've been doing it this way for the last 15 years and never had a problem, so I'm not going to do anything different.
You know, personal experience story here. This happened years ago and kind of similar to that incident you had, except a much better ending. Heading out to the local river to do some hunting. We had a small boat, a small outboard. We had my son in there and 2 other hunters plus myself. So number one, we're already overloaded, especially when you add the decoys and the dog. And we're putting back, and we would have been okay. The weather wasn't bad at all, but we had a big old duck boat pass us doing like 40 miles an hour without a care in the world. And we almost swamped just from the wake. That's another issue too, isn't it?
It's a big issue. And a lot more fishermen and hunters are going out on kayaks now. They're going out on smaller boats because they're easily accessible to areas or parts of the rivers that they weren't able to access before. And the bigger boats aren't paying attention and go by, and swamping happens all the time. It ends up capsizing boats, or worse, ends up with your shotgun at the bottom of the river.
Right. And, you know, all of this, folks, is just so preventable. I mean, that's the tragedy anytime you lose somebody, is that almost always these are preventable incidents just by having the proper safety equipment on board and actually using it, especially the life jackets. Almost every hunting fatality I've heard of when it comes to falling off a boat, that hunter is not wearing a life jacket. In fact, I'll ask you, have you ever actually had a fatality where the hunter was wearing a life jacket?
I personally have not.
That's kind of what I figured, unfortunately. You know, if folks want more information about safe boating, what are some resources they should go to?
No, they can go to the Idaho Parks and Recreation website. They have a list of all the required equipment that you need to have on your boat. And this applies for hunters, not just the boating public. So you can go down to your local law enforcement agency and look up the local areas if you're in a police jurisdiction with waterways. For us here in Canyon County, contact myself or contact anybody of the lake divisions, and they'll be happy to give you a free inspection, go over and point out the items that you could improve in.
You know, Washington State Parks also has a boater education program. You actually need a boater educations card. You have to go through an online course, which is pretty comprehensive before you can get one if you operate most boats with motors in Washington State. And other state park systems probably have similar resources for you too. So again, your local sheriff's office or municipal police department, if they have a marine patrol, they can give you some information, help you out with any advice that you need. And your state parks probably also has the information you need. Boat US is also another good resource on a national level. Sergeant Roberts, thank you so much for sharing this with us today and highlighting this issue for our listeners, especially our duck hunters on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
So thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Next, let's talk New Year's resolutions. Maybe you've resolved to eat healthier in 2022 or lose some weight. Those are both big ones a lot of us make. And one way to do that is to eat more seafood. We're talking seafood like salmon, halibut, and cod. They're all excellent choices, but you want to make sure that the seafood you have tastes great. And that's where Cnc comes in. Cnc Seafood offers premium, wild-caught Alaskan seafood to include Copper River sockeye salmon, the most prized salmon there is, delivered in meal-sized portions right to your door in carefully packaged boxes. So you've got your seafood, and you know it's top shelf, but what about cooking it? Well, if you want some ideas, go to Cnc.com and check out not only the products they have there, but also the recipes. They've got tons of them, guaranteed to make each and every meal you cook from Cnc one you won't forget and will want again. Go to Cnc.com, that's Senasca, Cnc.com. Check out the recipes they have there, and when you place your order, be sure to use the discount code Outdoors Radio, because when you do, you'll be getting 10% off your entire order. Again, the discount code is Outdoors Radio, and the website to order from, Cnc.com. Turning to Sportsman shows, I'll be exhibiting at 2 of them this year, and they're both big ones. The first is the Washington Sportsman Show at the Fairgrounds in Puyallup, February 2nd through the 6th. And the second is the huge Pacific Northwest Sportsman Show, the second largest in the nation. That one is taking place at the Expo Center in Portland, February 16th through the 20th. And you're going to want to drop by our Northwestern Outdoors Radio booth because we are doing a giveaway courtesy of our friends at Henry Repeating Arms. At each of these shows, we're going to be flying a banner from Henry Repeating Arms. It's got a number on it. And if you text that number and answer a couple of questions, you are entered for a chance to win a Henry Golden Boy lever action 22 caliber rifle. This rifle is a thing of beauty. It's right out of the Old West in terms of its classic looks. It's made in America. It's accurate. It's reliable. You're going to love shooting it. You're going to love showing it off. And it doesn't cost a thing to enter. That's right. All you have to do is just come to the booth. Even if I'm not there, just text the number that's on the banner, enter for your chance to win, and we'll announce winners after each show. You don't have to be present to win. And like I said, it doesn't cost a darn thing to enter. You can find out more about the Henry Golden Boy rifle by going to the Henry Repeating Arms website at henryusa.com. That's henryusa.com. And don't forget to ask for your free decals and catalog while you're there, and look for an authorized dealer near you while you're at it. Stick around. We've got a lot more of the outdoors coming your way, to include your extended Max Minute featuring Bob Loomis from Max Lure.
With more of the great outdoors on Northwestern Outdoors Radio with John Cruz.
It's that time again. It's time for another Max Minute, brought to you every week by Max Lure. And with us for the first time this new year is Bob Loomis. Bob, great to have you back. Happy New Year, sir.
Same to you, John.
Let's talk ice fishing. And we're going to talk about ice fishing with a lure that I love to use for open water lake fishing, the Promise Keeper. Now, this is a great trout lure, but how are you fishing under the ice and for what?
Well, the 1/16 ounce Promise Keeper actually works extremely well fishing the warm water fish as well as cold water fish through the ice. You know, you've got a real small profile. You've got the smile blade on top for attraction. And then on the bottom, you've got that small treble hook with a little bit of flashaboo and the glow-in-the-dark synthetic fiber on there. And I'll tell you what, it works absolutely phenomenal through the ice for a number of different species of fish.
So this is really lightweight, and I guess I've never really heard of jigging a spinner, but are we jigging a spinner or just letting the currents go ahead and turn that Mylar blade?
No, I jig it. I jig it for attraction and, you know, fish it just like you would a regular jig.
Interesting. So it's only a 16th of an ounce. Mm-hmm. Are you putting any sort of additional flash, like a sling blade on top of that, or any additional weight to get it down?
No. You know, generally speaking, you know, you're fishing relatively shallow water when we're fishing, you know, perch through the ice, crappie, bluegill, you know, anything like that. Even walleye, you're getting into some of the little bit shallower water. But bottom line is, if it's something that you have to go a little bit deeper, yes, you can fish it, but you don't have to by any means.
Well, there you go, folks. Jigging a trout spinner for trout or perch or crappie or any other fish you'll find under the ice. Take a look at the Promise Keeper from Max Lure, especially the 1/16 ounce size, and give it a whirl under the ice this winter.
That's the sound you hear when a fish hits the new sonic baitfish from Max Lure Company. This metal lure can be cast, trolled, or jigged and will catch just about anything that swims in the sea, the river, or the lake. The sonic baitfish has a unique vibration and flutter that can be rigged in 7 different ways. With all sorts of eye-catching colors and weights available, you'll be reaching for the sonic baitfish as your go-to lure. It's the sonic baitfish. And that's another fish on, only from Max Lure Company.
Sportsman's Warehouse is America's premier outfitter and has what you need as a hunter, angler, hiker, paddler, camper, and outdoors enthusiast. They also carry an extensive assortment of firearms and ammunition you simply can't find anymore at many big box stores. On top of that, their knowledgeable staff is here to help you purchase the right gear so you can get the most out of your outdoor experience. Visit your local Sportsman's Warehouse store today or shop online anytime at sportsmans.com.
Backcountry Hunters and Anglers is the voice for your public lands, waters, and wildlife. From the Canadian Yukon to the Florida Everglades, we're stepping up to conserve North America's public lands, defend our hunting and fishing traditions, and expand access to the outdoors. Find out how you can get involved at backcountryhunters.org.
You're back in with Northwestern Outdoors Radio, and we've been talking a lot about shows lately. It is show season. That's why we've got Joe Pate, the man behind Exposure Shows, on the line. He puts together a whole bunch of shows. The first one is coming up quick. It's in Eugene at the Lane County Convention Center. That'll be February 4th through the 6th. Right after that, he'll be in Roseburg at the fairgrounds. That'll be the 11th through the 13th. From there, the show is heading to Medford. That'll be February 25th through the 27th. And then the NorCal show in Anderson, March 4th through the 6th. Joe, always a pleasure to get you on the air every year to talk about these shows.
John, likewise, and thanks for hanging in with all of us in the outdoor world. Appreciate you.
Goes both ways. It's not easy to be a show producer these days in light of COVID, but I'm glad all the shows are going on. You know, you always have some really interesting attractions at your shows, and I understand this year's going to be no different. You've got some really good ones that folks are going to want to see. Tell our listeners about them.
Well, for one thing, we're going to have a 10-foot-tall, 800-pound animatronic Sasquatch, which, you think about it, is really the original Northwest Outdoorsman. And he's going to be hosted by the host of Squatch America, which is a Native American anthropologist named Scott Violet, and his wife Hannah. And Scott's mantra is investigate the unexplained rather than explain the uninvestigated. And he brings a real practical and realistic approach to Bigfoot, the myths surrounding it, and the practical aspects of what's become a legend in the Northwest.
Well, I think that's definitely going to be a showstopper there. You got more than that, though. You've got a couple of other attractions at your shows that folks are going to want to hear about. Well, interestingly enough, I don't know if you're familiar with, years ago, a cartoonist named Jim Snook. He was the one that wrote the cartoons, the RV cartoons. He had a knack for seeing the essence of the humor in all of our outdoor exploits, and he was planning a legacy tour this upcoming year, and unfortunately he passed away in the fall. But the good news is that his daughter Teresa is carrying the torch, and she's going to be exhibiting at the Eugene show, and they'll have RV cartoons books available, and we're really looking forward to that as another added attraction for the shows this year. Anything else that folks ought to know about at your shows this year, Joe? Well, I could go on and on. Probably the most famous Kodiak bear, grizzly bear, you see him in all the commercials on TV, is going to be there. His name's Tag, and he's brought by Steve Martin, Working Wildlife, and he'll be making appearances throughout the weekend. But another interesting thing is, John, last year we learned that by putting some of our seminars online, we got some 20,000 attendees for the various seminars. So this year, after the shows, we're going to, of course, present all of our regular latest fishing and hunting techniques, boating safety, firearm safety, etc., live at the shows. But in addition to that, after the shows are over, after March 4th, we're going to be presenting them online as well as we did last year, so we can have people keep up with the latest in the outdoor world. And the reason behind it is there's two things that I think drove this last year. One is the incredible number of people that are turning to the outdoors for relief and enjoyment and amusement has doubled and tripled and quadrupled in the last year and a half, 2 years. And secondly, these people that are out there, maybe in the past they weren't able to attend a particular seminar at a particular time on a particular day at the show. So this will make this a lot more available to them after the shows are over, and they'll still be able to visit with us and have some dialogue in between, this show and our 2023 versions. I think that the online seminars are a great idea, Joe, and you're absolutely right. There's so much to see at the shows, and sometimes you're with somebody else, and they might not necessarily want to sit down for an hour to take in a seminar, so this is a great way to take in everything you want to when you want to. I do have one idea for you that would be a big hit at your shows.
Go for it.
I am thinking wrestling match between animatronic Bigfoot and the Kodiak Bear.
You know, it's interesting. They're about the same size. It would be an interesting match. But, you know, you mentioned the trials and tribulations of Sportsman show production these days, and it's been an interesting path and a challenging one, and we're excited about the presentation of the live shows this year and looking forward to it. And despite the scarcity, especially in the boating area, we're doing a few things that may jazz things up. For instance, we're having the Register Guard, and Eugene's going to have a program called Float Your Boat, and they're going to actually bring in some pre-owned boats, and so we're going to try to have as many nice and new products, latest innovations in the outdoor recreational world, but we're also going to have some quality pre-owned materials and equipment so that we can try to satisfy our hungry audiences.
I think that is also a great idea. I just bought a boat, and folks, I can tell you, boats are very scarce in the marketplace right now, so bringing in some quality pre-owned boats, that's a wonderful idea. That's exactly what I ended up buying. We've got to go, but folks, again, exposure shows, you want to find out more about them and also take in those online seminars later, go to exposureshows.com. That's the website, exposureshows.com. One more time with the dates. The Eugene show is going to be February 4th through the 6th. The Roseburg show, the 11th through the 13th. In Medford, that show's going on the 25th through the 27th. And Anderson, California, the NorCal show, March 4th through the 6th. If you're anywhere near those areas, you'll want to attend one or more of these shows. They're going to be a lot of fun. Joe, good luck this year with the shows, and always a pleasure to talk to you on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
Again, John, thank you for keeping your eye on us, and I appreciate you, and good luck in the continuing program.
For our next shot of the outdoors, we've got Trey Karskinen on the line again with O'Loughlin Trade Shows. Trey, the Tacoma RV Show is coming up next week, January 20th through the 23rd at the Tacoma Dome. Like we were talking about before with the boat shows, it'll be nice to see an RV show again. I can't remember the last time there was one out there.
You know, John, it's been 2 years, and last year we were hampered with dealer inventories. There just wasn't anything available, so we couldn't put a show on, and neither could anybody else. And this year we're the first one out of the gates, and the Tacoma Dome will be filled with RVs of all sizes and descriptions. And they will be available for sale.
Any idea how many dealers are going to be there?
You know, we've got, I believe, 14 or 15 that will be at the show, which is about what we generally do for that show. And literally every inch of the Tacoma Dome and what they call the exhibition hall is filled, and there's even some units outside.
Oh, that's great to hear. And, you know, RVing has become all the rage, just like boating has, too, during this pandemic. People have discovered that they can have their self-contained safe vacations in their RVs, and they've been buying them up in droves, hence the inventory problem. But if you're in the market for one, it sounds like this is the place to go to actually have all these dealers at one place at one time.
You're exactly right. We have more than 165 different brands represented. You know, the interest rates are still very, very low. BECU will be there. They're the presenting sponsor and offering a show-only rate. And it's all there from the small stuff, the mini travel trailers, all the way up to the big Class A diesel pushers and everything in between. Toy haulers, fifth wheels, campers, all of it.
And like we told you regarding the Portland Boat Show, with the Tacoma RV Show, the early bird gets the worm. The inventory that's there is what is there, and they're not going to wait till Saturday to sell a lot of it. So you're going to want to go on Thursday or Friday to get your best selection for exactly what you want. But if you can't make it till Saturday or Sunday, that's okay. You can always order something for later in the year. The website to go to find out more is TacomaRVShow.com. Trey, thanks as always for sharing this great information with us. One more thing I've got to ask, though, before you go.
Sure.
That would be the Puyallup Show. Now, normally it would be taking place the week after the Tacoma RV Show. We've got a date change this year, don't we?
We do. We moved that into the first week of February, and it's the 2nd through the 6th.
February 2nd through the 6th at the Fairgrounds at Puyallup. Don't miss the Washington Sportsman Show. I'll be there and look forward to seeing you there, too. Enjoy a meal of wild Alaskan seafood delivered right to your door. Cnc offers premium quality wild Alaskan fish and shellfish to include Copper River king and silver salmon, halibut, black cod, king crab, and of course, Copper River sockeye salmon. Order it blast frozen or smoked and experience a slice of Alaska for a special meal you won't forget. Buy your seafood now at Cnc.com. That's Senasea, Cnc.com.
Sportsman's Warehouse is America's premier outfitter, and with over 90 locations, you're sure to find a store near you full of the gear you need to succeed this hunting season. Firearms, ammo, archery equipment, decoys, clothing, boots, and more. You'll find it all at Sportsman's Warehouse. Better still, the knowledgeable staff can help you with tips and frequent in-store seminars, all designed to help you bag a trophy or a limit this hunting season. Find a location near you or shop online today at sportsmanswarehouse.com.
Welcome back to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. Our next stop is Ocean Shores. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking about where all the hotels are and where everybody's out on the beach, or maybe even the casino that the Quinault tribe operates. But no, we are heading all the way south in Ocean Shores towards the North Jetty, towards Damon Point, and we are taking you to the Coastal Interpretive Center, an undiscovered gem for most people that I really want you to hear about. With us here today to tell you more is Nancy Eldridge. She's the board president for the Coastal Interpretive Center, and Yali Lizik. She is the interim director. Ladies, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's great to be with you.
Welcome. Thank you.
So the last time I was here was about 5 years ago. And boy, oh boy, have things changed. And it's just wonderful what you have done with it since then. Nancy, I mean, you've literally re-renovated about half of the center.
I would say it's even more than half, probably. In our strategic plan, we had planned to do a pretty major remodel and new exhibits in 3 years. But when COVID hit, we thought, let's fast forward that. And so we did. We were closed for about 14 months, and we did a major renovation of the interior, opened it up, put new museum quality lighting, beautiful new exhibits, and it's just absolutely different from what it was, and we think it's pretty special.
Oh, it's really special. And folks, if you come out to Ocean Shores, you know, good chance you're going to be out here on at least one rainy day. And this is the perfect destination for a rainy day visit because it's just a great way to explore the history, both the cultural history and the natural history of this region, and do so in comfort. Yali, how many people pre-COVID were visiting here, and how many people have been here since it reopened in May?
Yeah, so prior to COVID situation, we had over 20,000 folks visiting per year. But now since our reopening back in May, we've had a little over 700. Huge difference. Huge difference.
And a lot of folks are missing out. Like I said, this is a place that's really worth visiting. And if you're like me, you were here a few years ago, you've really got to come back because it's almost brand new. So you've got this divided up into different sections. And I guess we should start off with bring the kids, because there's a lot for the kids to love here, isn't there, Nancy?
Oh my gosh, there's so much here for the kids to love. The first thing that you'll see when you walk through the door is our children's gallery. And we've got a little area in the back for the kids to put on a little lab coat and take their little magnifying glasses and fill out data sheets, and it's just really amazing. And then as they walk through the children's gallery, they can even swim through an old kelp forest. It's just really fun. They love it.
Now, Yali, before you came here as director, you actually majored in geology at Western Washington University, and there's an exhibit that is near and dear to your heart here.
Yes, so we have an Earth Science exhibit, which is one of our newer exhibits that is probably one of the most colorful ones in the gallery space. We have 4 panels, and on each of them are showcasing different topics in geology, one being our plate tectonics and ever-changing Earth systems, and then another corresponds with our climate change and the receding of glaciers all across the country and globe.
And including a glacier that is right by here in Olympic National Park. And that's one of the things we got to talk about here, folks. It's, yes, a lot of the focus is here in the immediate Ocean Shores area, but it also focuses on the Olympic Peninsula and Olympic National Park, too. There's some really good exhibits about that, to include stories about the mountain goat, which a lot of people assumed are native, but they're not, and now they're actually being removed from Olympic National Park and Olympic National Forest.
That's right. We do have an exhibit about the mountain goats that were actually brought into Olympic National Park and put there for various reasons. And our exhibit showcases the reason why you shouldn't put a critter that doesn't belong somewhere in a place where it doesn't belong. And so I encourage everybody to come down and take a look at our goat. He's pretty cool.
You have this beautiful mountain goat on display. And speaking of taxidermy, in the room right next to us, you have all sorts of taxidermy, and I love the way it flows, because essentially you start at the ocean and you make your way through the wetlands and the lowlands and eventually get up to the forests and the mountains, seeing all the birds and animals along the way.
Yeah, it's a really amazing diorama that we had done here probably about 15 years ago, and it's one of the exhibits that has remained when we did our major remodel, because it's pretty popular. We show the habitats from the beach to the upland, and you can see all the critters that inhabit all of those different habitats. It's pretty fun.
One of those critters is the northern sea otter. Now, when I'm fishing on Anea Bay, I'll still see some, but, the population isn't nearly as robust as what it used to be. But you've got a sea otter on display and information about the sea otter, too.
Yeah, we do. And that's right. Unfortunately, we don't see a lot of the sea otters down here on the more southern coast, if you will, down here by Ocean Shores. They are seen up north, but because of hunting and other reasons, the population of sea otters has been almost entirely extirpated from this area. There's an occasional sighting here and there, but we have a great exhibit about that and, the history of what went on and why you don't see them anymore out here.
We talked about cultural history, too, and you can't ignore the influence of the Quinault tribe. You do a really good job with the exhibits here of talking about the Native American heritage that comes with this place.
Part of our mission is to not only educate about the natural history of the Washington coast, but also the cultural history. And of course, the Quinault Nation is, one of the longest term habitants out here on the coast. And so we have worked with the tribe. We have a beautiful diorama of an old fishing weir from, late 18th century time span and some other beautiful basketry artifacts and things like that. So one of our plans for the future is to partner with the Quinault Nation and develop a more comprehensive exhibit, but right now I think we've got quite a bit of information there.
In addition to the Native American history, of course, there's more modern history here too, to include how Ocean Shores was developed by Pat Boone, of all people, to be this huge real estate development, for lack of a better word. There was a World War II history here that I was completely unaware of. And, of course, there were some shipwrecks, a whole bunch of shipwrecks. And you've got exhibits that are about that, too.
We do. We have a nice panel that talks about some of the various shipwrecks. But one of the more famous ones is the Katala. And one of our artifacts that we really enjoy and that the children that come into the center really enjoy is that we've got the ship's wheel. And it's been now built into a real pilot house that you can really walk into. And there's a video that makes you feel like you're crashing through the bar and into the jetty and on and on. It's just a lot of fun, and the children love to steer the ship through the ocean.
And that's something else that's new here. You have a lot more interactive exhibits and a lot more video and a lot more audio than you ever had before. It's really well done. I mean, this has really been modernized, and it's obviously cost a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of money to make this happen. Have you been able to leverage federal funds? Is that how this happened?
Yeah, we did get some federal funding for probably our largest exhibit that we did during this remodel, and that's an exhibit that we call Life on the Edge, and it was funded through NOAA and the Olympic Coast National Marine Sanctuary, and the exhibit is all about the Olympic Coast National Marine Sanctuary, what critters inhabit the sanctuary, what the different habitats are in the sanctuary, and it's really a stunning exhibit. We had a little bit of funding from the City of Ocean Shores that they like us to earmark for education, so we used part of that, but most of the work that was done in this remodel and building the new exhibits was done through donations and through volunteer labor.
Yali, we are actually standing in, well, I guess you might call it the beach room, and it features a whole bunch of things that you'll find on the beach in terms of animals and things that you find beachcombing. And this is another just really well-done exhibit. Why don't you take us through this?
So we have a collection of shells and a bunch of cabinets, and they range on all different marine life and critters that you'd find on the local beaches here, Copalis Beach being one of them. Of course, sand dollars are a pretty cool find throughout all seasons of the year, and crab shells and coral reefs, which are now going extinct. And then for beach finds, we have lots of these old Japanese glass-blown floats.
Oh, and that is so cool. My parents, when they lived on the Oregon coast, I mean, you're talking back in the 50s and the 60s, they would walk the beaches after high tide, and they would be looking for those floats. And they found a couple over time. Now, I mean, it's been a long time since those glass floats have been used. I'm guessing those aren't washing up so much anymore. But we had that tsunami that happened, about 7 years ago in Japan. And you had something incredible wash up from the tsunami.
Yeah, so we have a statue of the Japanese god of luck and prosperity, Bizu. And he is arrived in pristine, intact condition on the beach, and he has been one of our main attractions for most folks coming into this beachcombing exhibit. The statue pictures the god raising his arm up in a fist, and the other hand is cradling a carp.
Or koi or something. At any rate, it's cradling a really big fish, and he's really happy about it. Bottom line is this, folks. Next time you're in Ocean Shores, go have fun on the beach and fly a kite or drive along the beach or do some beach combing, but definitely take some time to head south and come to the Coastal Interpretive Center. What are the days and hours of operation during the winter months?
Yeah, now that we are in the off season, we are open on the weekends only, Saturdays and Sundays from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m.
So if you're here during the off-season, make plans to come to the Coastal Interpretive Center during the weekends, and check out their website, too, at interpretivecenter.org. That's interpretivecenter.org for the Coastal Interpretive Center in Ocean Shores. Definitely a place you have got to visit while you're here. You're going to learn a lot about the area and about the wildlife, and I think it's going to be a nice way to spend an hour or two. Nancy, Yali, thank you so much for sharing this with us today on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
Thank you, John.
What a pleasure to speak with you today.
Show season is back in the Pacific Northwest, and we've got several you won't want to miss coming up. This includes the Portland Boat Show at the Expo Center, January 12th through the 16th. If you're in the market for an RV, you'll want to be at the Tacoma Rv Show at the Tacoma Dome from January 20th through the 23rd. And then we've got the Washington Sportsman Show. It's at the Fairgrounds in Puyallup. It's taking place a new date this year, February 2nd through the 6th. And don't forget the biggest of them all, the second biggest in the entire nation, the Pacific Northwest Sportsman Show at the Expo Center in Portland, February 16th through the 20th. On top of that, we've also got the Central Oregon Sportsman Show with acres and acres of RVs on display March 10th through the 13th at the Deschutes County Fairgrounds in Redmond. Find out more about all of these great shows and make plans to attend now at otshows.com. That's OT Shows for O'Loughlin Trade Shows.
Sportsman's Warehouse is America's premier outfitter and has what you need as a hunter, angler, hiker, paddler, camper, and outdoors enthusiast. They also carry an extensive assortment of firearms and ammunition you simply can't find anymore at many big box stores. On top of that, their knowledgeable staff is here to help you purchase the right gear so you can get the most out of your outdoor experience. Visit your local Sportsman's Warehouse store today or shop online anytime at sportsmans.com.
We've got time for one more shot of Northwestern Outdoors Radio with John Cruz.
I'm glad you're back. Want to do a really quick show recap for you because the Portland Boat Show at the Expo Center on Marine Drive and the Great Rocky Show at Metro Park in Billings, they are both going on this weekend and run through Sunday. And just a reminder, the Tacoma Rv Show is happening next week, January 20th through the 23rd at the Tacoma Dome, and the Tri-City Sportsman Show will be going off at the Hapo Center in Pasco, January 21st through the 23rd. Be sure to stop by the Sportsman's Warehouse booth. If you go to Sportsman shows this year, good chance you'll get some swag and some discount coupons. And now it's time for your Sportsman's Warehouse trivia question of the week. They call this fish the water wolf, and for good reason. This toothy predator, which can grow to over 4 feet in size, will ambush and eat smaller fish all day long. This long torpedo-shaped fish is found in good numbers in Montana, Wyoming, South Dakota, and Idaho. In Washington, there are active efforts to eradicate the fish to protect salmon stocks, and so far, this predatory fish, which comes from the north in its name, has not established a presence in Oregon or California. Here's your question. What kind of fish are we talking about here? If you think you know the answer, go to our Facebook page at Northwestern Outdoors Radio. Give us your answer there. Or if you prefer, contact us through our website at northwesternoutdoors.com and let us know the name of this toothy big predator called the water wolf. One lucky person who guesses right wins the $25 gift card we give away every week from America's premier outfitter. We've got to go. I hope you stay warm during this chilly winter. I'll be thinking of you in Las Vegas this week. Until next time, do take care, God bless, and make it a point to spend some time outdoors.